Just while we're all settling down, 3 aha moments. Let's talk about who wants to, well, you don't have to give me 1 per person. But what was an aha moment for you today so far? Yep, Uber and then Ronnie.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Thanks for your help.
Yeah. It was very helpful about what you guys did.
Yeah, I guess that as well, and just the simplicity of what you're doing. It's so, you know, like you've been through the journey and now you're just giving us those, it's fantastic.
We have a saying on the weekend, and I actually forgot to tell you this before, but I just trust always when I deliver that the right stuff's going to come out, you know, and if what didn't come out, it won't. But the most successful businesses and systems are the simplest. You almost go, oh my God, is that all? Yeah? And we have a saying on the weekend after every teach segment, so I'll tell you a little bit about the journey and how it unfolds, but we have 7 teach segments and 7 speaking hours, okay? So on the Friday we have 2 teach segments, 1 teach segment, 2 speaking hours. Saturday we have 4 teach segments, 4 speaking hours, and Sunday we have 2 teach segments and 1 speaking hour. It adds up anyway, doesn't matter. But we don't do everything in one hit, everything is one after the other. And at the end of every teach segment, we yell out to the top of our voice. What do we yell out, Christine? This is simple,
this is easy, oh my God, this is fun.
And it's so drilled into their minds, and we also have a theme song for the weekend as well that I get them back, because when you're working on the hour and on the 45 minutes, everything's like, I'm like really strict about how it unfolds and how it gets run. Christine has to leave a little bit earlier, but do you want to tell a little bit about, you mentioned that you wanted to say something, but just before you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I went on the weekend in July and I'm still working on my book. But I think that I got a whole lot more out of it than a book and about credibility. I guess I did some growth. My story is about my journey with my daughter and myself. My daughter's 14, doesn't walk or talk. She's got a muscle condition. And getting down there was like, just like this really big mountain. It was really ominous because I had to get care for my daughter while I was going to be down, 2 hours, hour and a half drive away. So it was a big thing to organise all the care. I got down there and we just got into stuff, and I got a phone call from the carer saying she couldn't get into the house.
Stuff like that happens.
It was a bit scary, but for me, I had a key that I left outside. I had my
she had plan C.
Yeah, I had all these other backup plans. My parents had keys. So, I was talking to the carer, and I was so focused on getting care for Imogen. And while I was guiding the carer as to where to find a spare set of keys, my other daughter turned up. Oh God, I've got another daughter. I'd forgotten that she would be turning up as well. But what had happened was I put the keys in Imogen's bag, and the school had forgot to send the bag home all day. But anyway, I had all these backup plans, and I got through the weekend. And before I went along to go on the weekend, felt I was getting care, and I was like, this is going to be really hard, but it wasn't. It was a breeze. It was all friendly. The food's great.
Stuart
was a great cook. But it was a really easy weekend with lots of learnings, and I guess the thing that I wanted to say is that I grew more than just about the book. It was about the journey of going through the book. So
and sometimes people take their time, like you have. You were there 6 months ago. And there's no reason why, you don't have to be nuts as me, like to get it out in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can take your time. Helen Mitas, who did the Feb weekend, she only published it, November? I think it came out. She just took her time. Some people will get it like really quickly than others, but the important thing, what's important to me, is that everyone crosses the finish line. Not one person who's been has not crossed the finish line. Okay, it doesn't matter if some have taken 3 months, 6 or 9. It's their own pace. Yes, life does get in your way when you get home. You have all great intentions, but if you're focused and you set aside some appointments for yourself, you can get it completed.
The weekend itself is not as kind of difficult.
Oh no!
People have asked me, is it really hard? Is it, how does the weekend flow? But it flows, and it's not kind of intense.
No, and we have wine at night. and I couldn't drink much because I was pregnant all the weekends, except I didn't know in Feb, so we did have a lot. But it's really social as well, and we're friends for life. That's why I love it, because it suits the culture that I come from. I love to have like really close friends, you know, that I've had something significant. Like, you know, you're giving a birth to a book. It's like giving a birth to a baby, and you share that forever.
5 times.
Yeah, 5 times. So for you guys would be the first time.
But
And the first,
there was a lot of social stuff and a lot of networking, and the brainstorming was really well.
yeah. Thank you.
sharing.
And another thing I want to thank you, and I can't wait, then you're not just Imogen's mother. That's the book's name, Not Just Imogen's Mother. Because see? Other feedback.
Can I just ask, when will that come out?
Well, Christine, I think you're aiming for April or May? But your book, when will it come out?
June, I mean.
June you're aiming for, yeah. Okay, so yeah.
I'm a number though.
Sure, let's do that, please.
You need to give me info to set up your sales page. But one thing I was going to say, which is interesting, what happened with Christine about the keys, actually those kind of things happen all of the time, not with every person, but Brian, our chiropractor, I actually went to high school with Brian. You know, and my high school buddy who was on the debating team with me came and did my retreat, which is really cool. And he had to move houses a week before the retreat. He wasn't ready, like all of these things. So what happens is you get these challenges from the universe to say, are you really sure about this? You're going to do it? Are you really going to grow? Or, you know, should we keep you right here in that comfort zone? It happens all the time, and that's why we do the mindset call now. We didn't used to prior to the last weekend, but we do a mindset call a month out, because then all of them will go, oh my God, that's what's happening to me. Oh my God, it's like, you know, everything that they're going through, we're all the same. Thanks for that, guys. So let's talk about saving time, because there's a very limited belief that people have that money is limited, but time is unlimited. Okay? Yeah? So what I encourage you from here on in today is to believe that time is limited and money is unlimited. It's logical, doesn't it make sense? Yeah, totally. So what is saving time? Obviously the ability to complete tasks and execute at a faster rate, but not doing things half-fast, cutting corners and trying to do it all yourself, because you're not the expert. And that's why I had that aha moment with my own mentor, that I've had the experts on the side. As much as I think I've done it on my, you know, I'm responsible and I've taken the actions, those mentors have helped me tweak. Like really, my last mentor, he didn't do anything infrastructurally, if that's a word, for me. He just did a couple of little, I don't know what he said, I did suggestions about how I did certain things in my workshops or in my sales calls, and it made the biggest difference. Like I started working with him, I told you what the investment was. Within 8 days, I made back that investment 20 times. Okay? So that's what I'm talking about here. And also, when people take the leap to work with someone, this is why I created an end-to-end package. Number one, because I wanted to see everyone be successful. And number two is that I knew that if they invested, they will stick it out to the end. And they will hold their book. Okay? So that's why. So if you don't look for ways to save time, you will waste lots of money and time, because it's related one to the other. You will take years to get published. We keep talking about authoring, and it will take you years. How many times have I met people telling me that they've been writing a book for 10 years? Mm-hmm. Have you heard that a lot of people are writing books nowadays?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, well, you're right. But are they doing it? No. And you'll watch a video right at the end that I recorded to show you the 3-minute experience of the weekend. Well, it's not 3 minutes, but the video is 3 minutes, but of the whole weekend. And I say, do you hear that everyone's writing a book? But they're not. They're just talking about it. They're giving themselves significance to say, yep, I'm writing a book, I'm going to be a published author. But they're not doing it, because once they start exploring with these people, yeah, tell me more, and when is it going to be out? They go, oh, yes, and then the excuses start to come to the surface, and I go, okay, you're one of those, okay? So they're not doing it. Don't don't think that you're not going to be different. I'm telling you again that you are in the minority, you know, the 0.000, you know, 1% of people that actually want to do this and that will follow through. If you decide to do it, whichever way, whether you do a retreat or you follow the book, okay? Building credibility and a stronger brand will stagnate if you waste time. So like those people I mentioned, 5 years, they've been taking massive action and still they're not getting, you know, a better lifestyle. Doing it yourself can mean a lot of time and money wasted, and certainly a lot of heartache. So perhaps at this point in time, I'll tell you about this book, my first book. I published this overseas, okay? Ex Libris, one company overseas anyway, it doesn't matter. Bought one of the packages. I didn't know who to ask, how do I do this? There wasn't people like me that were in my focus. I'm sure there was. I just didn't think that something like that existed back then. And so I did what I did, and they sold me the package. And the one thing that happened, number one, is I could not go and print my book anywhere else. Okay, so I always had to keep buying books back from them. I didn't have the rights to my book. And another thing that happened, and this was the worst thing for me, they kept ringing me every second week for 2 years until I really cracked it. I kept cracking it along the way, but they just couldn't take the message. Stuart answered my phone on my behalf to keep selling me 30 to 50 grand marketing packages. And I said, no thank you. I said, the book's doing amazing things. I'm marketing myself. I'm not interested in book sales. I want to build my business, all of that sort of stuff. And I said, stop calling. They didn't. Oh my God, we just went through a real war to get them to stop calling. And that's what I don't like to happen to any of my people. So with BusyBird, you wouldn't get any phone calls beyond publishing. They're experts at their publishing and editing and all of that sort of stuff. And you get, once you've paid off your program, you get your CD of your book and you can print it locally. So we've had authors from New Zealand, Townsville, Perth, I'm just thinking of the furthest away ones, which obviously they won't get stuff printed here and shipped. They'll just do it in their local area, and that's what. So you know what we did with Blaze? It was time to reorder more of these. This is why I said it looks different. I said, all right, Blaze, what's the cost to get another couple of hundred? And she told me it was cheaper, a third cheaper than I was going to get it from the place. We then bought a new ISBN. She got her designer to redo it because she didn't have a print-ready version. She did a new cover for me to match my red branding because it was yellow. It used to be yellow in a different picture. She put the stamp on, and we printed the next cheaper, the next lot. Then I was just going to get books from the other place with all that redesign and everything. So now I can print this one here as well. So that was a little bit of the disaster story. And this is why I like using local people that you meet and that you can come along to. For you guys in Melbourne, so you can always even pop into here and get assistance. So it will slow down your growth, clients, and your cash flow as well if you don't look for ways to save time. So there's Russ. Russell is the Time Lord. And he wrote a book, Free Time, Business Time Lord Secrets Revealed. And he's the one that I think, I believe, followed the system like to the T. He's so good at it, and that's why I've allowed him now to help someone else by using, like just paying the rights to use the IP to help someone else, because I trust that he can do this, and he's helped me in other ways refine the system. So he always talks about, he was in a webinar with me, and usually it's very hard to get people into the retreat because they're not with you, they can't feel and touch you on a webinar. So usually our program is better when you're talking to people face to face. And so, but he was in a webinar and I said, oh no, it was just a no-brainer. It would take me years to do it myself. You know, with this, bang, 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 and he did it. It was just like your ideal follow through. So he's awesome. So strategies on being effective. Get efficient yet effective, because there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness, yeah? So I'm going to give you our top 4 or 5 strategies here. Number 1 is obviously speak it out. Okay, you know that secret now. It's not much of a secret, it's simple, isn't it? Yeah. How many people are out there typing other people's, for years that's been happening, yeah? Ask and invest in that expert help. If anything, you must get a publisher. You must get someone who knows how to edit stuff and professionally lay it out and design, because you want your books to look like they belong in a bookstore. Okay, no, I've seen books that look really amateur. Okay, do you think those books look like they belong in a bookstore? Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of those pictures, probably 50% of them, were taken at the weekend. We do a professional photo shoot at the end of the weekend where we do author cover, headshot about the author section. You can keep those for your own marketing. Kev comes out. So Kev and Blaze come to the weekend in the last, about midday on the Sunday, and Blaze spends 10 to 15 minutes discussing the book with each of the authors, and Kev is in another room, set up his drop sheets and all that sort of stuff, and we get people to bring any props if they want to have in their shots, and like the one with Anthony holding the, the crystal ball, that was taken at the weekend. I think Jane and Rod, this one, that's Stuart by the way, at the bottom. She's stepping on him. Why is he fat? And she's one of my weight loss licenses from Tassie. Which other one, where is it? Brian, yeah, Brian's book was taken at the weekend. Book cover. Is that Brian?
Yeah.
That's Brian. Yes, that's his back. And Russell's. Yeah, we did that at the weekend. Russell's not taken at the weekend.
See one of the props?
He's all embarrassed now because he keeps at his chiropractic clinic, and all his patients come in and they're, is that you? And he's like, yes. All these old ducks are trying to pick him up. It's great.
Yeah, he did like that sports science thing and then chiropractic and all that sort of stuff. But he's got an amazing eye. I think when we were with Christine's weekend, we did this like almost 007 shot with Lawrence, who did the book The Mission. His is also in final stages before print. You know Lawrence Yolanda? Do you know Yolanda? Sorry, I'm speaking. Do you know Lawrence? Lawrence
Segowitz.
No.
Oh, you don't go to that? Yeah, I thought you did.
Oh, BNI.
Yeah. So he did the book The Mission, and we did like a 007 kind of shot.
Oh.
So you can get something done, but sometimes it may not work out, and that's okay. Sometimes actually Melbourne people end up now, last weekend was really big and Kev couldn't do 14 people, would have gone nuts. So he did all the interstate and overseas, which we had 7 of, and then the others actually popped in here and did their photos, and they had their own private sesh. So that was really cool. So he can do as many as 8 or 9, but then it's like, whoa, because he wants to give everyone that personal attention. All right, commitment to completion. Okay, so we talked about this earlier, that focus on staying on one project at a time. So when I was waiting for baby number 3, this was my project. And I just, did one after, every day I did an hour, no longer. The first few days was unpacking the book, and then the following week was speaking it out. Then I got them into the transcription, and I said, as soon as you've done a chapter, you've got to get back to me. I said, don't wait for the whole thing, because what we learned through the process is we used to send the whole book in, the authors would send it in, and then they'd wait and everything would come back at the same time. And some people will get their books sooner and some people will get their books later. And we learned that, number one, it put them into overwhelm getting 12 chapters and intro and afterward. It's like, oh my God, I've got to clean all this stuff up. And so next time around, the last 3 weekends, we've said to the transcriptionists, as soon as you do 2 chapters for person A, B, C, hand them in and start back at the beginning and start back. So they're only getting a couple at a time to clean up. It takes about an hour and a half to clean up a chapter. Okay? So I'm sort of giving you a little bit of how it follows. So if you've got a 12 chapter book, I would say your cleanup process will be 15 to 20 hours, depending on how you go about it. You can take things, you can remove them, you can put stuff in. I just stick to it, just adjust a little bit, get Stuart's help and get it out there. Okay? Cool. So some strategies, quick multitasking, okay? Cluster your time according to your activities. If you multitask, do you know how, if you had activity A and activity B, do you know how long it will take you to complete both when you're multitasking versus if you do one and then the other? Take a guess how much faster you will be. Stop writing. I'll send you the PowerPoint, I was going to say.
Oh.
Because I can see you guys, I want you to listen to me.
Sorry, what was the question?
See, you're multitasking, see?
No, I was still
Okay, the question was how much faster do you get things done when you do task A completed and do task B versus A, B, A, B, A, B?
30%, 35%.
25%.
4 times faster. 4 times. There's a little exercise I could get you to do, but don't worry about it right now. It's not about that. It's 4 times faster. So that's what I'm saying. If you just focus on one thing, get it out. Each of these manuals that you see and those programs and all of those, they've been all done just one at a time. They weren't started all at once. I didn't know all that stuff. You know. So I've learned through it and then written about it, and always that commitment to completion. Complete it. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect. What did I say? If you don't feel embarrassed upon releasing, launching your first product, I'm just trying to get a quote, then you've launched too late. Yeah. Did you have it?
No, I just said then you spend too much time on it.
Yeah, or you've launched too late because you just wasted a lot of time. So be mindful of social media and email. We all get stuck in that world of not being present, and I'm doing this and now I'm doing that and all that sort of stuff. So see if you can. I almost have a strategy. Sometimes I have an hour because we have obviously the newborn baby, so we're working on one calendar. So no one can book anything when the other person has it, because someone has to be with the baby, and especially the kids were home also for the last 2 weeks. And we have pretty much a 1 to 2 hour window to do stuff when we don't have clients. And basically we put the alarm, not the alarm clock, but the stopwatch, whatever, and you work for that time. So then you go back and you're with the kids, and then you go back. We've been up and down all the time, but very productive in that time where you got a deadline that says, I've got this task I got to complete in 60 minutes. Okay? So time yourself. Works well. Yes, Kristen.
Where's baby now so I can have a cuddle?
Oh, my boobs are hurting. Okay. $30,000 list. Okay, so what does this mean? I read a book by Mary Kay Ash called Miracles Happen, and Mary Kay is the owner of that Mary Kay Cosmetics in America, very big company, yeah? And she learned this from someone else, and I thought this is such a cool idea, so I started doing it myself, so I'll tell you about that one. $30,000 may not sound like a lot, it is a lot, but back in the day when this book was written, $30,000 was something like $300,000 or more, okay? So the woman, this woman went to a CEO and said to him, let me spend 15 minutes with each of your executives or managers, and I can double their productivity. And if you think that's worth anything to you, then send me a check or whatever, or call me to let me know. So alright, whatever, doesn't cost me anything. So she went and did that. And surely enough, about a month or so later, the CEO rings her back and says, oh my God, not even double, triple the productivity. What did you tell them? Tell me so I can do it too. And she told them to create top 6 to-do lists the night before, and list their tasks from the most to least important. And if they didn't complete everything, to move them across to the next day. But to do this every single night. 6 is not too many, and it's not too little. So it stretches you, but it's not too like, oh yeah. And you got to eat the frog first. Yeah? So subsequently, he sent her this check for $30,000, which would be $300,000. So I implement this strategy every night before my working day. Obviously, I won't do it on a Friday or Saturday, but something I'm already onto it. Even though I don't work Fridays, I tend to do it for myself. I'll just give myself smaller tasks. Okay? So this makes you more effective. Okay? Be consistent. This is my favorite. Consistency is king. And some of you that had the book signed just earlier, I said, dear, whatever, success is the sum of small efforts taken day in and day out. That's why I wrote 1,000 days, because it's not, yes, there's those people who may have done it a lot faster, but I'm just saying that this was my journey, and if you do it every day and you take those consistent actions, you can get to that. 1,000 days is a realistic time frame. Yeah? Success the consistency is, I always say to all my mentors, people that I mentor in all the programs, it's king. Don't do 60 hours one week and 5 hours the next week. And then another 60. If you can only devote 20 hours to your business, do 20 hours every week. Early on, you may be doing even more and consistently more all the time, which is what happened with me. But now we have certain working days. Like I said, Monday to Thursday is when we would be seeing clients, and Friday to Sunday we have time with the family, and we travel and all that sort of stuff. And I never schedule anything. It's like a rule that I won't do anything on Fridays with people. Okay? So it keeps you top. So consistency keeps you top of mind with others. So with Jalinda, for example, I'll use that example. We've known each other virtually for 2.5 years, but I'm consistently showing up on Facebook, sending out an email, I'm consistently doing all of those things, therefore I'm staying top of mind. And who knows how many other people are in the sidelines that are observing and watching, because you think they're not. At the beginning, no one responds and no one likes your stuff on Facebook, yeah? But they're watching. They're watching. I would say 4 times, if I get 100 likes, that's like 400 likes. It is.
Well, it's only 10%. They say it's something like 10% of people actually write.
So it's really 1,000. Yes. Yeah. So they're really, and because when I see them, I go, oh, you've been doing this and this. They tell me my whole life story. Because I'm a bit of a Kim Kardashian social media. I share everything. It's open book, yeah? And even because I also have family in Macedonia, so they see my children grow up. My father got on Facebook like 2 months ago and Skype. He rings me nearly every day. I used to speak to my real dad. I call him my real dad because I've got a stepdad and a father-in-law, and people think it's weird. And so my real dad, I used to speak to him once a year. Now he's on Skype. Where are you? What are you doing? Let me see you. But lucky he doesn't want to stay on. He'll just look at us, 30 seconds. Okay, see you later. So a successful business has regular planned campaigns. It's not reactive, but very proactive. And that's what I learned after year 2. So now I've got this big annual, I'm not big, but those 8 from Officeworks, those whiteboard calendars, and all my campaigns. I know where I'm going. That's what I was saying to the ladies from Sydney. I'm coming there next month. So everything's scheduled. Townsville, Adelaide, Perth. I know everything that's happening this whole year. Now, I also allow space for ad hoc. Okay, so if I get a speaking gig somewhere, or all of those things that are happening, so I can schedule for them as well. So I don't overschedule myself, about 60 to 70%. And let me give you another tip. Decide how many weekends you want to work in a year. As time can get away from us and we can always be working. Like this weekend is a working weekend. I've got another workshop tomorrow. Yolanda's coming to spend the whole day with me for Mumpreneurs. And basically I decided at the end of last year I only wanted to work 10 weekends this year. So the 4 author retreats, obviously this one, and I've got 5 more. And I stick to that and I organise the schedule around that. Okay, so that we have good quality life. After all, we're doing it for our life, yeah? Shows others you're serious about what you're doing. Because the more you turn up, the more you're top of mind. They go, well, she must be really serious, that she's really sticking this out, isn't it? Okay. Ask for help is another one. This is how you save a lot of time. How many times I've asked for help, whether it may be legal, bookkeeping help, obviously my mentoring and the person that helps me nowadays do Facebook ads. Quite a few of you in this room may have come from a Facebook ad campaign that we ran for this event. Like, I don't know how to do that. I tried a few times, I lost a few $100s and did nothing, and I go, now I just hire someone, and now like half my rooms are filled with those campaigns, and it's amazing return on investment in the end. So trying to work something out and you're not the expert, wastes a lot of time. Say publishing, imagine you tried to publish your own book and edit it. How good the quality will that be? And how quickly can you actually do it? Yeah? Be responsible. Okay, this is a big one. Alright, Stuart, this is where you come in with the Peter Bluff story. If you want to tell it?
That mentor that Nat was speaking about that we worked with for the first 2.5 years, I probably the first 12 to 18 months I wasn't on the journey with Nat, and I was very employee mentality, so didn't like the fact that my wife now had all of these other amazing things to be doing, and I was sort of just set in my ways, and I used to get frustrated with the amount of work and the hours that she'd put in. And she brought this up in one of our mentoring sessions, and he said, okay, how do you get her to stop? She's just got to stop. Energise the bunny, wind her up, she'll just go and go and go. And Nat goes to Peter, well, I wonder, why don't I just tell Stuart, get them and my mum, I'll just get them to tell me when to stop, and I'll just stop. And it's like, yeah, as if anybody else can tell you to do it yourself. You can't. You've got to just assume the responsibility and do it yourself, because we had have told her, shut up, I'm still working, I need to do this, I need to do that. So that's where it comes from. So you've just got to you've got to accept responsibility and do it yourself.
You're going to start, you're going to stop, are you going to choose to be more present, are you going to choose to work? Like we said to the kids when we came back from holidays, Monday to Thursday are work days, where you guys are still on holidays, but we will be in and out, changing shifts and doing all that, but one of us has to do business, you know, and that's it. That's how we get to do all of these cool things that you guys are not aware how cool they are until you grow up a little bit more. So, yeah, I said that, and Peter and Stuart both looked at me and I thought I had solved my problem, but no. So you're the only one that controls your time, and if you feel there's lack of time, so now I have a belief that there is time to do everything, because guess what? We always make the time for those things that are important to us. Those things that are not, we make an excuse. We say we're too busy, yeah? So if you feel lack of time, what are you getting out of being so busy?
It's a classic Australian thing too. How you going? First thing, oh, flat out, mate. So busy, so busy.
Yeah.
The minute you say that, you don't have the space for anything else in your life.
Yeah, we had one person that did the author week, and I won't say who it was, but we've become friends and go to dinner, and she'd say to me, "Man, I'm just so busy all the time." She also wants my schedule. She goes, "How do you do this?" Like, she wants my diary, to work it out, and it's like, you got to work it out for yourself. And we explored it a little bit more, and I said, so what are you getting out of being so busy? And it came down to her honouring her mother. Her mother was flat out raising 6 children, and she's just honouring her mum, because everything that we do often, most of the time, is to honour either our mum or our dad. Okay? Because they're, even if we don't have a great relationship with them, the love we experience for a parent is deep, ingrained and in our DNA, and therefore we do these things, and oftentimes they self-sabotage patterns. Yeah? So they're not us. Give yourself what you need. You can't give to others if you don't give to yourself. And those of you that are parents in the room, there's that parental guilt. I should be spending time, they're only going to be this little for this long, da-da-da-da-da. But if you're not looked after, if I don't get up and get my significance and go out and inspire people and share my passion, I'm not going to be a fun mum. When I was at home with my first child for 10 months, I felt wasted away. I was just like, oh my God, it's not about quantity time, it's about quality time, and I just want to go back and work and contribute, because it's a deep need for contribution that we have within us as human beings. And your business success and happiness is reliant on your health. So time out is not optional but essential. And when you're an entrepreneur, and those of you that are aiming to start businesses and all of that sort of stuff, you work at 4 to 5 times intensity than an employee. Okay, you've got to be switched on, you've got to be following up, you've got to be innovative, cutting edge. That's what an entrepreneur is, yes? So you've got to take the breaks out. That's why when you go, oh, yeah, great, they go on holidays 3 months out of the year. It's because we need to, we have to, in order to come back fresh and happy to be doing this. Today's, I feel like, the official start of my year, because I've been at home doing things but not really with my people, yeah? So out of that, before we get onto the publishing, get blazed out here, what do you think you learned? I know it's a little bit, I think it was a bit of a mindset kind of segment, but you need to think about those things. It's a big part of the journey. Our last segment in the Author Weekend is mindset, because we want you to have the mindset to go to the finish line. Yeah.
If you want it, you have to do it.
Yeah, responsibility. Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of self-awareness in there, like knowing what your key drivers and motivators are. I think that's a big part of it. and even what you're saying about knowing that you love your family, but what drives you more than that is the challenge of the achievement of X.
Yeah. Yeah, Rosemary McCallum, which she's one of my inner circle and mastermind, she's been in business 25 years. She's your ultimate mindset expert, and you know, she's a veteran, you know. And she talks about the three drivers being challenge, family, or lifestyle. And that, so she doesn't look at the Tony Robbins 6 core needs as much, but she looks at those, and it's very much an explanation of why you do the things first, and then that takes care of this, and then that takes care of that, and how often your partner is completely opposite to you. Yeah.
Natasha, just going back to that example there, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
What about if part of your topic or part of what your message is considered so controversial?
Yeah.
How do you address something like that? That
I think
we're not.
Come on up, Blaze. Let's talk about that with Blaze as well, because there's been certain questions sometimes around even talking about other people and all that sort of stuff. Do you want to maybe give Blaze a round of applause?
Alright, well, I'm a publisher and I'm a writer as well, and we've done all the publishing for Natasha's people, if you like.
My people.
I suppose really I'll just open it up to any questions.
Yeah,
so
the
question was about controversy.
Yeah, not necessarily controversial in the sense that obviously for obvious reasons you don't mention people or specifics, but even if the topic's controversial, like whether it's political, religious, or even medical.
What I would say is, if you're going to have something controversial, you have to be prepared to stand up in front of people and be challenged. So what I would do is, if you have something controversial, try and think of all the questions that people are going to challenge you on, and you have to be able to stand up and be able to debate that topic. Yeah. When it comes to talking about other people, just changing your name isn't enough to avoid defamation. Because if you talk about, say, your ex-wife, people are going to work out who it is, even though you haven't named it. So if you're going to put something out about an ex or someone that is identifiable, you have to be prepared for them to have an issue with it. So you either get permission from them, most likely you won't if it's something a bit controversial, or you be prepared for any backlash from them. Some people won't bother with suing you or whatever, but some people might have a real issue with it. Copyright is another issue to really think about. If you use anyone else's information from books, from online, you need permission for it. Just, if you mention someone's book and you say go and read it, then that's okay. But if you start using any of that information, then you really do need their just by putting their name in there doesn't mean that you've sort of, cited them as giving you permission. Yeah. But our editors will highlight anything that we think might be an issue.
Is that the same with quotes that are freely available?
Quotes which have a name with it is fine.
That's all right.
Yeah. Song lyrics are really tricky. I would avoid song lyrics because it's really hard to get permission. Most of the time you won't get permission, or you'll have to pay quite a bit for it. So maybe I'll talk a bit about the normal process that happens when you publish a book. So you have your written material, which we call a manuscript. So that will be your 30, 40, 50,000 words, whatever it might be, or even 10 if you just do a little book like the Locksmith book. So you have you make your manuscript as good as you can by reading over it and making sure that you have everything in there that you want. And then when it comes to us, we assign an editor to it. We have about a dozen editors that we use because every book is different, and we want to assign an editor to that book who is going to do a good job on it. I'm not going to put someone who might be 20 working on a book that might be about abuse, because it might be too much for them. They might not have they don't have the experience to deal with it. I'm not going to get someone to work on a book about football if she's a 20-year-old female who hates football, for instance. So we pick our editors.
And you niche them.
Yep. So that's why we don't have editors on staff, because we actually have them freelance, and we have about a dozen that we work with. So once a book comes in, it gets assigned to an editor, and then that editor works with the author to get it to a publishable stage. So usually with the packages that we do, it goes through 2 rounds of editing, because with editing a book you could keep going until the cows come home, you know, in terms of editing. And what I find is after a while the author keeps making changes and they start moving deck chairs around because they're starting to stall because they're getting worried about that next step. So at some stage we go, yep, it's ready. Don't worry if there's a full stop missing or a misspelled word. It's not that big a deal. So perfection, you cannot get perfection in a book. It's not going to happen. You can rework it forever. So we really try and keep the momentum going and say, okay, this is good enough to publish. Obviously, we're not going to let anyone put anything out that's not good enough to publish because it's a reflection on us. So once it's been edited, we then go into the layout stage. While it's being edited, we will have talked to the author about the look and feel of the book, you know, what sort of cover you want, who's your readership and all of that kind of stuff. So we will work on the layout. So the book gets laid out and then it gets sent back to the author to review. It will get proofread either by the author or us, depending on what the package is. And then it goes off to the printer. So there's actually not that many steps. It's very simple, we just follow the steps. But what we try and do is keep the momentum up so that it doesn't take you 6 months to do that stage. We usually, from when we get a book in, I think it's
8 to 12 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was about 8 with yours.
Yeah, well that's it's been 8 with mine.
I say allow about 12 so that you're not rushed, because life happens and you know you might get your work back from the editor and you know the kids are sick or something, or you've just got too many clients and you can't look at it for 3 days or a week or something. So I try to tell people, don't rush it, because then you'll get stressed and then you won't want to press the button when it says time for printing. So it's pretty easy, and then in that time, the earlier you get the cover the better, because that's when you can start doing pre-orders in order to start getting some payback. Yeah.
Well, like I was packing 200 books last night to post them out. I had already sold so many that pretty much paid for
you
my
can
package.
pretty much pay for the production of the book by the pre-sales. But not only that, it gets people excited about it. And it makes it real for you. Once you start, you know, there's a lot of people walking around, oh yeah.
No procrastinating once you've sold the first copy, because they're waiting.
Yeah.
They're waiting. Trust me, that's what we get to do that on the weekend. Stuart has a task for people, and he gets everyone to blast out on Facebook or wherever, their network, and people actually start selling it in there, and they give their BSB number and their account number for the deposits. And we've had in excess of 130 books sold by one person. And a few others, 70, 80, 60. How many, Melanie, at that weekend? About 80, I think she did. Yeah. So that's why we get them to do it from the Friday night over the weekend, and we sort of run a little competition who can sell the most. And then there's no way.
You hear the squeals of delight every time one comes through.
But as well as that, it gets people excited. It actually makes it real for you. And it actually keeps the momentum going for yourself to get it finished. Because then you get excited and then you start, you know, organising your launch and, you know, this whole, it sort of snowballs, really. And it gets very exciting. So, yeah. So, you know, the actual publishing process is quite simple.
I've just got a question about ebooks.
Yep.
Do you do, you said before you had yours in an ebook form as well.
Yes.
So, if like what we're doing, we don't actually do the hard book per se, but more ebooks. Do you do that as well? You go through and do all the same steps? Is it?
You don't have to convert. You don't have to get a printed copies. Like with the package that we do, we give 100 printed copies. But beyond that, you can just keep your email conversion. Because the ebook conversion, it gets its own ISBN, so its own number, and so it correctly can be opened on Kindle and iBooks, and so the correct formats.
Right.
Yes.
We can also organise, if you're getting a print book or an ebook, we can help you set it up on Amazon so that you have worldwide distribution.
Right, okay.
How about putting it on for DVD?
I could do that. Yeah.
What about audio books? Same thing?
A lot of people are asking us that, so we are thinking about how we can set that up. Because the thing about audiobooks is you have to pay someone to read it, and a book can take 10 to 15 hours to read depending how long it is. So that can be expensive.
Or you can read it yourself, because Terry Hawkins, who is one of my favourite mentors, she read her own book. And I got her audio.
Yeah, so that's quite a good thing. And you can get really funky USBs these days. I actually found one that's the shape of a book. And so you can put your book on that, or you can get one that's fits your branding. So you can actually get a USB that fits your brand and put your book on it, and you can sell that as a product as well.
That's really unique.
You tell me the book on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Yeah, there's so many different cool ones. Yeah.
Can I just quickly ask, how do I say this? I mean, in the easy way of finding a really catchy book title, would you both recommend just doing a whole workshop with a group of people, or do you just,
when we do the unpack, we workshop and pick out 3 to 5, and then we go to the weekend, we then explore them, because I've done it so many times, it's not difficult for me when I'm sitting with a person and we've discussed it. Sometimes words pop up and we just say, yeah, that fits well, and then we go into the weekend where everyone sort of checks out what each other's are, and they can also check it out in their own community.
And you also find, as you're writing it, things will come to you. So don't just find any name to start with, and don't get married to it. Don't think it's set in stone, and then
date it.
Yeah, then you can, we've had a few people who have changed their title about 3 times.
Yeah.
And then you find something that really fits. Because what you find is, as you put a book together, you're growing. Your business is growing, and it's actually becoming quite focused. So what you originally thought might change a little bit by the time you've gotten to the written material. So what you'll find is, okay, you might really hit it on the nail on the head when you find the perfect title, because you've got, this is my niche. You might not know it when you start, but you might find it by the end of it.
Because I'm feeling like I want to get a landing page soon, within probably the next month.
And what I do and encourage, that's okay. I encourage people to do up a $5 Fiverr 3D image. I mean, that's how I pre-sold. Actually, this ended up being the cover. So Blaze and the team, he actually designed the covers, but the guy who did it through Fiverr, I gave him my ideas, and he's actually Macedonian. He's over there, so when I go, I'm going to meet him. He's been doing a few things. He designed my banner as well. Now he's just like working for me. But he designed this cover, and then I said to Blaze, I'm actually really happy with it. I go, can you just do the printable version? And I think we just did purple instead of dark pink there. So yeah, and that's how you pre-sell it, because people want to see that 3D image. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, definitely.
You do most split testing with product titles, book covers, that sort of thing.
What testing?
Like
split testing.
So this one versus this one versus this one.
People do that, but what you find is you just get. I've seen people do that up on Facebook, for instance, and they just get conflicted by it.
I was told not to do 1,000 days by my mentor, and that title came to me while we were in a cinema watching Rio with the kids. And I'm just sitting there and I go, 1,000 days, and I ramble off, and I wrote it down straight away. And I went back to my mentor, and he said, dude, 36 months, it's too long, And so many people gave me their opinions. Everyone's going to have an opinion, all right? And what a confused mind always says no. So it's just going to confuse you. Rather than I just kind of put the blinkers on and I run my business. I don't worry about, I know there's other people doing what I do and stuff, but I got, no one can do the Natasha Denman flavour. No one. So just keep doing what I do. Obviously I invest to learn tips to build my marketing and all that. But and then I said, you know what, I'll just trust my gut, because this flew into my head for some reason, and I'll just go with it. And I did.
Quite often you'll find that you'll have a title, and then you'll go through all these other things, and you'll end up back at the same title.
Like Christine.
Quite often happens.
Yeah. 70% of the time, as I said, the first one that really sticks, and usually it's in the first discussion, stays. It just does.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah, that gut feeling. So just stay for a second. Just want to go through a couple of these slides and then do the comparisons we'll do. So publishing, the process of editing, proofing and layout and design to get your book ready for the general public, which is what Blaze went through. And it's not a do-it-yourself task. Of course, even with the first book, I had to get people who know how to do it. If you don't use a quality publisher, yep, it can cost you time and money, like we heard the story of me working with the others. Amateur type book if you choose to do it yourself, okay? Poor marketing and promotional efforts if you don't know how to pre-launch it and get free publicity. Like if you're talking about that's what I was going to add about the controversial topic. You can get quite a lot of publicity if you are being controversial. As Blaze said, you just got to be able to stand up for it. And we teach how to gain free publicity. We have a lot of publicity that we've had all over the place, and that's one of the key components of the weekend. We've done the course, we've implemented the information, we're getting it, so now teach it. Of course, you won't end up publishing at all because you just get, tired of doing, not getting the right way. So how to go about publishing and promoting. So ask the right questions again. So if I had known the questions to ask when doing the first one, I may have approached someone different, or maybe I wouldn't have. But now you know from my experience the things to avoid, or do I get my rights? Can I have my seat, book on the CD so I can print anywhere? All of those kind of things. And yep, is there any other right questions to ask?
If you're going to do it yourself, say just the actual production side of it, there's a lot of things to think about in terms of papers and formats and stuff like that. So really do your homework. And this is where having someone to talk to who has done it before or who works in the industry is helpful, because we have had people who have gone down the track, printed their book and absolutely hated their product and had to start all over again. So it's cost them twice as much. So,
yeah. And if you think you don't have 40,000 words in you, which is normally the amount of, the amount of words we recommend, and we'd say that's the system. If you write a 20,000 word book, Blaze can really make it look substantial by the quality of the paper and all that sort of stuff, so it can still look really amazing. Sorry, Christine?
I was just going to say, a friend of mine published a book himself that cost him $20,000.
Wow. Yeah. And probably that's the only thing he got out of it. Yeah. Hang on, Paul and then Jelena.
Can you get, different sort of thicknesses of the covers and whatnot as well?
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously colour internal printing makes the price skyrocket. So you always get a colour cover, obviously. But if you look inside this one, the new one, all my pictures are black and white and everything. So, Jelena.
You can't answer the question.
Oh!
Yeah, it was about formatting too. It was about, I had some ideas of wanting to have various coloured sections in the book.
you can definitely do that. There's some up there.
Exercises to do, so it becomes half a book, half a workbook.
Yep,
That,
definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, definitely.
I have a second question if that's
Yeah, go on.
And it goes back to what you were talking before about copyright.
Yep.
Sometimes when you're writing a topic, the knowledge that we have that we bring to the table and put in it is pretty much similar to what other people have written anyway.
Yes.
And although you put your own flavour on it, as you
Sure.
talked about before, and I like to have my own flavour on
Yeah.
stuff. How do you do the research to check that my 12 key steps aren't the same as somebody else's that's already written that sort of stuff?
That actually isn't up to me, it's up to the author.
Mm.
So what we do when we're editing, we will highlight something that we think might be copyright, might be an issue. And we will say, where have you got this information from? Do you have, and if it's from somewhere else, do you have permission to use it?
Right.
Because we can't read a book and we're not clairvoyant. We don't know where that information has come from and we can't possibly know. Good editors will have a bit of an idea if something isn't written by that person. It's just from experience.
Because of the tone.
For the tonal change, or there'll be telltale things that will tell us. We have had books where we had one book 2 years ago that was about 90% from other sources. So, and within a chapter, one of my editors knew it was. He was suspicious, so he Googled some of the passages into Google, and they came up in Wikipedia slightly changed. So we contacted the author and said, look, we're not going to continue with the editing. You either have to rewrite this or you have to get permission. Now, you can get permissions, but they slow down the process, and sometimes they might cost you money. So, you know, we can't cover every angle. It's impossible for us because we don't know where the information comes from. We have a good idea. We will probably catch 80% of things that might be an issue, but obviously at the end of the day, it's the author's responsibility. And if someone was to come and sue you, they won't be suing us, they'll be suing you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are wanting to use, say, certain 12 steps or success principles, you would want to use your own examples. I mean, that's why actually the speaking out part of it makes it so unique to you,
Yeah.
because it's you haven't looked at it and you're typing and then cutting and pasting from somewhere else. It comes from the heart. You know your content. That's why, like, I often even don't like using PowerPoint as much, although it gives people structure, because I can just talk from my personal experience, and when you know it, you don't arm and ahh and do anything. You know, when you're the expert, and that's why we also qualify people into the weekends. At the end of today, you'll see the experience, but you need to go through a qualifying chat to make sure, because 80% of people will qualify and 20 won't. Okay, that's generally what happens, and I'll send those 20% off and give them some assistance as to what they need to do, and then they come back. Like Honeymoon Forever Jane, we started working one-on-one first. She really wanted to do a book at the same time as well. And I said, Jane, we didn't quite have her message. She was very general. So we worked together for 4 or 5 months and then said, okay, you can do the Feb weekend. She wanted to do the original October one. And so then she said, I don't feel right. So you've got to be integral when you're doing your stuff. And then, and also I don't feel integral if I let you do it and I kind of feel like, oh, they're not going to be successful at this. You know what I mean?
And don't be scared about copyright issues, because most people are only going to print at most in like 100 books, for instance.
Yeah.
It's not like you're out there taking over the world and going to sell 50,000 copies. So when it first comes out, we have a disclaimer in there that says every effort has been made to make sure that there is no breach of copyright. If someone was to contact you and say this is breach of content or copyright, you just take the book off the market and you change it and you resubmit it, you know, you republish it. So it's not, don't get scared about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, sorry, I envisage 50,000 words per chapter, so that's where the...
Oh, no, it's about 3.
No, I'm saying...
Yeah.
So you'll obviously have an editor who would understand how to condense the original.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we've gone overboard, like I said,
yes.
50,000 words per chapter instead of the whole
If
book.
one of our editors is reading it and they feel like there's too much repetition, they'll highlight bits and say, you just said this in my...
That's where it's important that you marry up the right one, because they might cut very important things out and leave in the...
No editor will actually cut stuff out without you knowing it. It'll come back to you and they will make suggestions to you. Yeah? So a good editor will never just rewrite or cut stuff out without you saying yes to it.
Yeah, totally. Well, I was going to talk to them about fear and procrastination, which is one of the things we both agree on. Do you want to give your spin on how you've seen people around?
Well, everywhere I go, any networking thing, when they find out I'm a publisher, every single person will say, I've written a book, or my dad's written a book, or someone's written a book. You know, just about everyone has or is writing a book. A lot of people don't finish the book, so then it never gets to the next stage. And what I've found is that, you know, they start saying, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. But actually, publishing a book is, these days with digital technology, it's nothing. Like in the 80s, it would cost you $20,000 to $30,000 to publish a book. Now, 30 years later, it's, you know, a third of the price and much easier. In the old days, you had to get 1,000 copies printed. Now you can just get 5 copies printed. So it's much easier. So money is not an excuse. Time, yes, it does take time, but if you give yourself goals and you set out a structure, it's actually very easy. So what I find is it's the fear of A, putting themselves out there, and secondly, succeeding at it. Because we have this culture in Australia of 2 copy syndrome, and no one likes to see anyone succeed. This is my experience anyway. So that fear starts putting out all of these excuses. They start procrastinating. Oh, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to do, or whatever. But there's ways to find out what to do. and there's ways to work out your time to do it. I'm a writer, but I write fiction as well as non-fiction. Last year I wrote a novel, and I had started it about 10 years ago, and it was like the bottom of my list. It's just a hobby, really. Last year I decided, okay, this is the year to get it done. Now we work 6 days a week in here, and we have 2 teenagers, so it was like, how am I going to do it? So I have someone mentoring me, and he said 15 minutes a day. Well, okay, I can do 15 minutes a day. So I got up early. What I found is once I started my 15 minutes, it would turn into half an hour anyway, and I got the book written. So that's, writing a book of 70,000 words, up to September I finished it. So it was very doable. And what you find is if you are on a task regularly, you will actually get it done. Yep. So if you say, we're all busy, if you're in your own business, you're busy, but I'm sure you can find half an hour a day to work on.
Yeah.
So those excuses are not real excuses.
What I was going to mention here is the aha moment that I had on the webinar around fear and how the Critter brain says you're safe or you'll die. Especially in this, making a decision on something like this, it's exactly like that. And what I've realised at the start of my business, when I needed to step out of my comfort zone, and this is what a lot of people do, they frame it in a way that, okay, if I go networking, for example, say that's the thing you're scared of, I'm going to die, so then you don't do it. If I do this, I'm going to die. Nowadays, the way it's been rewired in my brain is that if I don't step out of my comfort zone, I die. Okay, because we run our business together with Stuart, and there's no security unless the business is ticking over and generating revenue and profits for us to pay our bills and put food on the table. So the way to think about it, whether it's your book success or your business success, it's like, if I don't do this, I'm going to die. And that's how internally, like, it's ingrained. It's like almost like it gets me out of bed. I have to go and do it, and I have to be innovative. I have to keep changing things. Otherwise, everything will implode on itself and I'll die. Can you see the difference? Because often when it's like been used to the comfort zone, then out there is death. But now to me, death is in here. Yeah?
What I would say is too, everyone is in this room because they don't want to be normal. They don't want a 9-to-5 job and to live a normal life. You want something a bit more extraordinary. Yeah. So if you don't put yourself on the line, why bother? Just go back to a 9-to-5 job and then complain about commuting in the traffic area.
Jason, you had a question before. Sorry, you had it. Did
it was a bit of a dull question compared to what you were talking to. Sorry. I just wanted to know about the structure of the original manuscript. So, what's the best way to get it?
Okay, so Word.
Yep.
Most people work in Word. Just everything in the order that you would want it in a book.
Yep.
So with your chapters mapped out, you might have some testimonial thing on the book.
If you follow the structure of, if you got one of the books, just follow that. That's what I say to people.
And just put it all in one document.
Yep.
Yeah. If you have images in it, we need them separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And font, is that important? Is it
No.
double? I heard double spacing.
No, in the design they change. Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's see what else we had. So build a hungry crowd. We spoke about the importance of a pre-launch and getting as much of your money back as possible. That's what I want to see. And run a free publicity campaign. So for pre-launch and launch of the book. So that's what we teach at the weekend, is like how to write your press release, who to approach, what the follow-up process is. And we've had stacks of free publicity. That corporate gig was from an article I wrote on social media. That was. And that's like paid its back in truckloads in terms of, and we talk about the fact that you can do it yourself or you can outsource it, and actually outsourcing it doesn't have to cost that much. Okay, we've done both ourselves.
Can I just add to that?
Go on.
Make sure that if you write a book, whether you do it with us or whether you do it on your own, have a launch.
Yeah.
So many people go, oh, it's too vain to have a launch. Why should I have a launch?
That's our group launch that we do for groups of at least 10. When they're ready, but we encourage an individual launch.
It's about celebrating. I had one woman who did a book of short stories, and she's an older lady in her 60s, and all of her friends were saying, "Will you have a launch for it? It's so vain." So she made me say, "I'm not going to have a launch now." She really was worried about that perception, and I told her off, and I said, "You have to have a party where you get all your family and friends to celebrate what you've achieved. And she did. She had about 80 people. And it was the best thing. She was sitting there with her stack of books signing it, and she just had a grin from ear. Yeah. So it's really important.
Yeah. They need to get rid of some of her friends.
Yeah. And Blaze hosts quite a few launches here.
Our space is available to anyone to use.
Yeah, I'm planning a very big one for this. Obviously it came out yesterday, but I'm going to have a big party in a few months. Cool. So I wanted us to go through the final thing here for the publishing is the difference between traditional and self-publishing, because I think it's important to understand both. And as you can see, really the biggest difference is how speedy you can go. With me, you know, it's like, let's get it out there. So it's very focused and fast, and you're in control. A lot of the time, traditional publishing houses will want to change a lot of things in your book, according to what they think will sell, and they have a lot of control over it.
Do you want me to just give them the So very quickly on traditional publishing. So that's where you send in your manuscript to a publisher, and they say, yes, we love your book, we'll give you a contract, and we're going to publish your book. About 3% of books that get submitted to publishers actually get published. And the process from when you sign the contract to when you get the book in your hand is roughly 2 years. Now, anyone who, any of these types, none of these types of businesses would get picked up by a traditional publisher unless they were someone famous, because they're very risk averse. The other thing is, when you get a contract from a publisher, you will get a commission on the royalties of the book, and you will get 7.5% to 10% of the retail price. So that's what you get across the board from a publisher. All the rest goes to the publisher and bookshops and all of that kind of thing. So that's a very brief outline of what traditional publishing is, but that is the difference between self-publishing and traditional.
So that's an example of what I was trying to say before about controversial, because you know, you might have somebody here in the audience that works for a traditional publisher who might sort of disagree with what you're saying, but what's the right answer? Like for some people that might be the best option, and for others...
That's true.
Right, so you're being controversial, but you're really just expressing your own...
No, it's fact. It's fact.
Sorry, my point was the difference between being controversial and then what actually is fact, because how do you prove what's fact and what's just an opinion?
I can show you statistics.
Right.
So that you have to have something to back up what you say, definitely. But it's very easy to find it that that's how the traditional publishing works.
It's neither good or bad.
It's just different.
And
we actually, we're like a hybrid publisher here. We help people self-publish, but we also publish a few books a year for other people. So we actually do both. But for those people, they get, we give 10% to those people. But first of all, they don't see any of the money till 2 years down the track, just like we don't. So we'll be working on a book for 2 years. We're actually working on a book on Joffa. Does anyone know who Joffa is from Collingwood? His book's going to be coming out mid-year. Now, we've been working on this for 6 months, and he hasn't seen a cent yet. We haven't seen a cent. We're having to invest money in it. So it's going to be probably end of the year before anyone sees any money.
So why would he take that route and not self-publish?
Because well, first of all, it was my idea to do the book with him.
Okay.
But secondly, it never occurred to him, and he doesn't have the money. So, and he's not a businessman.
And he's a bit of a celebrity character.
He's a controversial character. And he works in shelters and stuff like that. So he has no money, and it's not something that something that he would ever think about doing.
Another thing to consider is that you can be picked up by a traditional publisher if you've self-published first. Everyone would probably in this room know Rich Dad Poor Dad, who were self-published. He self-published and got picked up. And the Green Book 4 Ingredients as well. That one was also. So it's a matter of how quickly do you want to go to get your stuff out there and build your business as well. Is that cool?
The same reach that they do anyway. Like, given, like for example, Robert Perry, who we work on, he published his own book, I'm assuming, but I'm assuming you still go global. I want to sell my book in America, overseas.
Look, it depends on on what you want to do with the book.
Yeah.
You can just have a book and have it for your immediate workshop.
Yeah, like one yourself, yeah, 100,000.
Or you can go global. You can hire a book publicist. We have a very good one that has done lots of good stuff for a lot of our authors. And then you can use a book distributor who will get it all over in Australia. And then you can go on Amazon and you can go global on Amazon.
But you self-facilitate all that anyway?
Yep. It depends on what your intention is.
Like my intention is never to have my books in bookstores. I don't care. My intention is also, like, I'm still yet to publish these 3 on Amazon. I haven't done it. I've been focused on building my business and helping other people. Like, I know I can do it, just where it lies on your list of priorities of what your intention is. To me, I'm using it as a lead generation vehicle to build trust, to get to know. It's good enough. It just depends. Like Tim just got his Escape the Rental Trap. That's a really good one. So he's been similar to Desi.
So he's with the book distributor, and he rang me the other day and he said, "Oh, I've already got 300 orders for it. I need to get some more printed," and he hasn't even started his publicity yet.
Yeah.
So it's going to go really well for him.
Yeah.
So look, watch it.
Yeah. My whole thing. No.
That's Trevor.
Tim's also got a very challenging condition with his health. I won't say obviously exactly what it is, but he really, I mean, if anyone to attend the weekend, he had the most challenges.
He spent more time in hospital than out of it in the last 12 months.
And he's
Put it that way.
an amazing guy.
There were so many times that I was talking to him about
Yep.
stuff on his book when he was in waiting rooms in hospital.
Yeah.
He did really well.
And sometimes people have all these excuses, and like people like even Christine, like having to leave a child that needs permanent care and all that. Like, you know, we've had some amazing individuals, and we've had a breastfeeding mum at every single retreat as well. Like they've been.
Can you hold up Anthony's one?
Anthony,
Front left.
Front, yeah.
Anthony's dyslexic. He would have never been able to write a book unless he used the speaking method. So he wanted to do it for so long, and that's such a cool. He's doing such good stuff with it.
Yeah.
I think the locksmith is dyslexic as well.
He is actually, yeah. He is.
Your brain's the same.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just...
So no excuses.
Yeah.
The desire is there, you guys, it can be done. And, you know, if you can just, you know, get over the hump of, you know, standing out and being successful, then just do it, you know. You never know what's at the other end, you know.
It's actually so much fun.
It is.
It's so, I love being at launches where I see people signing books and they're just, you know, grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
So my favourite part.
See ya.
See ya. Yeah. Okay, and this is the leverage that I always talk about. I know this is a bit, so when I send you the slides, you'll get this. But I just wanted to show you, this is probably not even everything. I brainstormed this mind map to show you what are the different avenues your book can take you to, like the publicity opportunities, using it as an opt-in, like the website giveaway, chapter or lead generation, your speaking engagement. I mean, who's going to be chosen as a speaker over you who is an author versus someone who isn't and just says, I'm an expert at this? You would have had to build an amazing reputation and have credibility in the speaking circuit to get picked up. And that's why I'm a member of the National Speakers now, and that's where I go to hang out, because my ideal client is there. I'm doing a workshop at their convention. Further product development, that's a big one that I teach, and we give some of the products at the weekend to our authors so that they can think bigger beyond just a book. So creating a manual for those that are coaches would like to have their own system and program that can result into licensing for them as well, if that's the path they want to take. So aside from the publishing and the book, I believe, don't we always say 25% of the journey is getting the book project completed. 75% is how do you leverage it, okay? How do you build that credibility, further products, and an actual real business? Because as I said, that's why I'm not interested in having my books in bookstores. What am I going to make $2 out of a book, rather than being able to sell high-end programs that I can, you know, really make a big difference to people in their lives. Okay, because I know the book will get bought, and how many percent? 1% of people will ever read it. Whereas if I do my programs that actually handhold people to the end to end, then that'll make a much bigger difference than just reading a book. Would you agree? Yeah. Blogging, your different sales and avenues where you can have all your exposure, as we said earlier, your networking, where people are so curious to talk to you afterwards. Running your preview events. You guys are at a preview event today, yeah? So you know you got a book, and that's awesome. And you'll go home with me and have a read because you also met me. That's why I actually don't care if I sell books to people I don't know, because when I meet people and then they get to know me, that you go, I know that author, I read their book. Yeah, and that's really cool. So there's so much. I won't go through every single one of these. Some of the publicity that we have had ourselves and our authors, there's Justin the Locksmith on Sunrise, and Jane on the radio, a lot of these on the radio. This John Sharkey. Glenn got referred to me by Johnny, and he did an Ireland Irish tour of his book because he's Irish, but he lives here. And he was an ex-chef, and he wrote Quest to Freedom. So his target market's more those corporates who feel really stuck in in that corporate space and want to do what be free, and that's what he did. I think that's what you're looking to do, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Valentina's Italian, you guys. She started speaking English 3 years ago, I think, and she's got this heavy Italian accent, and she did the February trip last year. And and Jane is Vietnamese, and she's got an accent as well. So there's 3 of us who weren't born here that have done this system. So again, there's another objection that sometimes people go, but I don't know what I would talk about. Yeah. That's some of the books. This is what it's all about. I said to Blaze yesterday, I took a photo with this because I picked it up and I go, it never gets old, does it? Every time you pick up your freshly printed book and you go, oh my God, let me look at it. And Stuart read it last night, the bits he didn't edit apparently. But it's so nice to hold it and go, oh my God, really? I'm an author? You're okay? Yeah. So as a result of today, I'm also going to send you, aside from the PowerPoint, I'm going to send you a few things just to help you out. I'm going to send you my full program in e-version of the Ultimate Procrastination Cure, which is this little program. It's a 10-step, it's your little exercises. 10 easy steps to banish it from your life. I think that's always helpful because we say one of the biggest things that hold you back is procrastination. So I thought that's relevant, yeah? I'm going to send you a credibility assessment tool analysis. It's just a one-page thing where you go yes, no, and give yourself a score and see if you're fresh, fame or fortune. So it depends where you sit, and if you're curious what they mean, then let me know. And I'm going to send you a 1-hour recording that I did on a webinar for Leverage Your Business via your book. So in one email, I'll send all of those things. I just thought I'd do all of that. So we've done the book. Now, who's ready to watch the 3-minute video? Yay! Okay. Thank you, Blaze. Alright. Now, lights off. Okay. Just want to make sure everything is connected. I love this. Always takes me back. Well, they're not doing it, they're just talking about it. We are changing the face of authoring success. We're after 100% results. 10 authors locked away for 48 hours, and a few short months later, 10 published books. Now that will see their business soar. So how do we do it so fast? Gone are the days of slaving away in front of the computer. If you know your stuff, you can talk about your stuff. If you can talk about it, you will, and in 7 short hours, a 40,000 word book will be verbalized for someone else to type up. The Ultimate 48-Hour Author Weekend is not just about writing the book. You walk away with business explosion education through our Teach segments. You bond with the 9 other authors and have a community to share your experience with, and you still get to enjoy the luxury accommodation
and surrounds of the properties we hire. I'd like to share with you what 3 of our recently published authors have to say about the ultimate 48-hour author experience.
So I really recommend the Ultimate 48-Hour Author Program. When I looked at what the cost was and then compared that to how much it would cost me if I was to do it myself, and value the time that I would have to put into it over the months or years that people typically do this, it was really a no-brainer to just go and do it. And now I've got the book in my hands.
The biggest challenge I had was making sure that I had the support of my partner. So with that support, it was great. And the end result is we've got our book in print and we're both loving it.
3 things I would love to share with you about the 48-hour author weekend. Number 1 is that by committing to this weekend, you're really putting yourself in the fast lane. It's accelerated results. Number 2 is that you are getting amazing mentorship and support throughout the whole process. And number 3, and the most important, is that you're kept accountable. Within 4 to 6 months, there's no excuses. You will have your very own book.
It's intense, it's fun, it's inspiring, and unforgettable. We look forward to having you at the next Ultimate 48-Hour Author Weekend. But first, you must complete a 20-minute book strategy session to make sure that you have what it takes to get your book done and become a published author. Take action now, as there are only 10 spots available at each of our weekends. Contact us to book your appointment today, and let's make you that author you've always wanted to be. This is simple, this is easy, oh my god, this is fun!
What do you think? It looks better when it's a darker room, but that's all we can do. Okay. That was Feb last year. We got the video done of all of that. Any questions around what you just saw? Did it look fun? Yeah, it was awesome. We had to use a conference centre in October. It was just as beautiful though. Everyone actually, the bonus of it was that everyone had their own room, separate rooms. But the eating experience wasn't quite the same as when Stuart does it. Because when we do this, because we had 14, we aim to have 10 or less so we can get the mansion house. And then it's so homely. Our flavour is more family kind of type. Like, you know, we like to, as I said, we're not after mass numbers. We want to do everyone right. So everyone loves it. And he was a bit like disappointed he didn't get all his compliments and all the meals, you know. He actually, when he used
Had to do some real work, didn't I?
Yeah, and I was very heavily pregnant, so that was actually a blessing that we did it at a conference centre. I was like 36 weeks pregnant. It's a lovely setting, and we've never been to the same spot twice. Okay, so we always get a different spot because we really, have to see what our numbers are, and our numbers can change up until 2 weeks really to the weekend. But we always get something because we never book anything in school holidays. So to make sure. Okay, so the next 2 weekends are 20th to the 22nd of February, which is 3 weeks away, okay? So there's 4 spots left in that one, and if you did the fast-paced way, I would expect your book to be out June 2015. Now you might be one like Helen, who did February last year, and she came out in November. But if you wanted it done quick, then that's the fastest you would be estimating to have it done. And then following one is May 15th to 17th, just before we go to Europe. Get that one under our belt. So that one's got 7 spots, and the book would be approximately out in September. Okay? So what we normally do to become one of our authors, we go through a 30-minute qualifying in the next 48 hours. But because I'm doing a workshop tomorrow, what I've done is I've done a list here of times Stuart and I are available. And Yolanda's spending the day with me, but she already wants to chat to me on Monday. So what we're doing is 30 minutes. It's value. I want to speak to every single one of you because I think you'll get a lot of value just from the conversation and ideas. Even if you don't do anything following that, I charge people $5.50 per hour. So I always give tons of value when I'm talking to people. Like, you could do this or you could do that. And just might be that brainstorming that you wanted and needed. So I want to clarify your $1 million message because I'm all about now the $1 million thing. I want you, us to identify if we're a match to work together. Because not everyone, I want people who are action takers and get to the end and get the 100% results. I want to qualify you to make sure you can complete it so that you have the skills and we have the messaging. Right, and I want then for us to outline the strategies and the logistics of the process. If someone go, oh, how much does this cost? We talk about that. There's 3 different levels in it. There's a silver, gold, and platinum level, which include different options. So that's where I need to show you the inclusions in front of you. I usually would send you an email during the conversation, and you'll open it at your end, and I'll have it open at mine, and we talk through it. Okay? Because there's just way too many things to tell you. There's tons of stuff. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll pop this on that table near the door, whatever time suits you and whoever you want to chat to. Stuart and I are just as good as each other, yeah? And his or my name will be on the left. So we can do, because there's the same time slot, say if it's 3 o'clock today, I can do one and he can do one in different rooms while my mum's looking after the kids. And then there's times right through to Tuesday. If it doesn't suit you, there's a note here, pop your name in here and I'll just email you after and we can figure out a different time slot if none of these are suitable for you. Does that make sense? Okay, so the reason we did all of those things earlier with the photos and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to give you some feedback sheets because we always look to improve today's event in the future, and people sometimes take longer, and so whoever's ready to pop their name down, pop it down first and then do your feedback, or vice versa, do all of those things. So first thing, best dressed for the times, and I'll get Stuart to hand out some of the feedback forms, and we're happy to hang around and chat now as we finish. Any general questions for in front of the group that you want to ask? Yes?
Does anybody finish the books on the weekend?
About 70% of people will have all their recordings done. Some people may have 8 and they go home and complete it. That's a great question. But yeah, and some, remember I said some come away with written books? But yeah, 70% will have it done. Yeah. Sometimes, well, the good thing is we've had people get stuck and then they come and have a bit of a mentoring session, because when everyone's off recording, see Paul, when everyone's off recording, we help those that are stuck. Do you know what I mean? So I'll provide mentoring, I have a bit of a discussion. And when I've already spent 2 hours, actually I didn't tell you this, guys. Let me take you through a bit of the free work. We've got time. What happens is when someone says, yes, I want to do it, we have to schedule a 2-hour one-on-one with me. Okay? In that 2-hour one-on-one, we unpack your book and we unpack one chapter. What that gives you then is the skills to complete your pre-weekend checklist. The pre-weekend checklist will take you 10 hours of your own time, 10 to 12 hours, I say. Okay, so say you're doing Feb, you have your 2-hour this week, then you have plenty of time. You could do an hour a day and you're ready for the weekend. Okay, we've had someone sign up 5 days from the weekend. That was ridiculously close. Okay, and I kind of, I sort of went, oh gosh, can she do it? But she was very experienced and she had been in business for 12 years. She reckons she spent 4.5 hours prepping, that's it. And she finished the book at the weekend. Okay, so that surprised me as well. So I'm not going to tell you, that's one side of the scale. Most people will spend 10 to 12 hours in prep. Yeah? Weekend execution goes into transcription. Once it goes into transcription, our transcribers are very fast. One person got back stuff in 24 hours. Wasn't it, Andrea?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you'll get your book back if you've sent everything within maximum 2 weeks. You'll get it. We've got 2 guys working and they know when our weekends are and they're waiting for your stuff. And then you're spending the cleanup process. Remember I told you about 15 to 20 hours? So 10 to 12 before the weekend, 15 to 20 after, and then obviously any back and forth with Blaze to go to print. So whatever, re-edit. But personally, for me, the way I do it, I'm very fast. Like as soon as you send me an email, have a look at this edit, I'm like onto it and sending it back so I can get it as quickly as possible. So sorry, I should have taken you through that. So that's your time investment in terms of how long is this going to take me. But there was a question.
Yeah, just quickly, what sort of equipment do you recommend for recording? Like
the iPhone,
so people use their phones or an
iPad.
Or
and I recommend headphones.
Yeah, we get headphones.
Yep.
Yeah, because it puts them a bit in the zone. So you know, we obviously have a space for you to be able to be separate. Yeah, see you guys.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye. We have space for everyone to have their own room or area where they'll be recording.
Do you do a flip phone as well? Like if you're going to fit, is it video as well as just audio, or do you think it's better just
audio?
Purely audio, so you're more focused on.
Yeah, just audio. That's what I would be saying, and yeah, absolutely bring your headphones. And we'll always, when we pick the houses, because yes, sometimes people do have to share a room, we make sure that there's enough separate areas everyone can break out to. So sometimes they use our bedrooms because we hardly spend any time in our bedroom except for the hours of midnight to 6 a.m. because we're always preparing and doing things. You know, we're hosting the retreats. So some person just makes their bedroom our bedroom their working space. Yeah, but when it was at the conference, and everyone went to their room because they had their own room.
And it's nice whether everyone goes outside. It's wherever you.
Yeah,
that's
when
where
you get beautiful weather.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have to plan for
worst case scenario.
And actually, 3 of our weekends last year had rain, and the sun came out on the Sundays. If it's you're done now, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Anything else about the process? Yes, Yana.
Have you had people who weren't clear about what topic they wanted to write about?
Oh, yeah.
More than one that they felt they were experts in?
Yeah, so this 30-minute thing is about clarifying that and making sure we're positioning it right, the niche is monetizable, and that you feel comfortable, and by the end of it, I totally couldn't see that. This has been really helpful. Yeah. Absolutely.
As well as doing this, that's where our skill set is actually the mentoring that we do with clients, whether it's the straight business mentoring. It's identifying their message, and it's the same as when you're identifying their message for what they're going to be doing for their business. It's just an on-step of that, like doing it for the book.
Also, the sheet that's there, often people ask us, and Yolanda, you're one that asked me at the break, about my mentoring program and how you want that, and we were going to chat about it on Monday. That can be used, that conversation can be used to explore that avenue, because we have so many things that we can say, okay, well, maybe we should get started here and do this, vice versa. It just depends where you're at, and that's what all that conversation does. Yeah. Okay, cool? Yeah. Awesome. So come and chat to us. Love your feedback. We'll always improve on that. I'll put some music on. The last thing I always leave people with is the smarter you work, the luckier you'll get. Because obviously hard work does bring rewards, and it's not luck. You work hard. Yeah. It's just that afterwards, things start to fall into your lap. Yeah. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you, everybody.